Hello everyone, it's Mindy from My Creative Scoop, and I'm back with another Copic coloring tutorial for Neat and Tangled. This month I'm going to be using this stamp set called Piece of Cake. So I'm going to teach you how to create a cake texture. So let's get started. So I'm going to be using RV34, RV32, RV11, R30, and RV13. We're going to start with our RV32, and we're going to start with the frosting. So I'm just going to create a little bit of a shadow underneath these little frosting flowerets, or whatever you would call them. I'm going to go underneath the candle and just on one side of where it's starting to come over on the side of the cake. And then we'll go ahead and take that R30, and we're just going to bring the color out a little. I'm going to start coming on this side. Then we're going to go ahead and take that RV13 and go back to the darker area to add a little bit of this color. I'm not going to go everywhere, just so the frosting has kind of like a little bit of a shine to it. And then let's take that RV11 and just soften up that RV13. Now let's take that R30 again, and I'm just going to do one swipe over so that way everything that's currently white is going to stay its lightest. Now let's take that RV34 and just darken up some of those spots so that way it really has some nice definition to it. And then we're going to take that RV32 again. And we'll take that RV11. I'm going to do a heavy flick. That way it blends nicely into that R30. And let's take a little bit more of that RV13. It's a little brighter. And again with the R30. Okay, so we have the top part of our frosting done. Before we do the rest of the frosting, because since this is such a large image, it's going to take a little bit longer, so I'm going to speed up through some of it, but I do want to show you how to create that texture for the cake. So we're going to go ahead and start with that R30. We're going to start with the lighter one, and we're going to just fill in the area by making dots. You want some a little bit smaller, some a little bit bigger, so it really has that fluffy cake texture. And then we're going to take that RV11, and you want to kind of stay along the bottom parts of the little dots that we created. So notice I'm not adding as big as dots using the darker colors. So we can gradually add color as we're doing this texture, but it's so much better to start lighter. That way you can go ahead and add more as you like it, because you might like it a little bit lighter than the frosting. I kind of have to wait and see how it starts turning out. I might like it darker or lighter. It's all the preference. So then we're going to take RV13 and do the same thing. This time I'll add a couple of bigger dots. And then let's go ahead and take that R30 again, and let's soften some of these up. So I'm really going to lay my marker down on the paper a little bit longer this time and just kind of drag it around, still pressing here and there and pulling it out. So I'm still touching the paper a little bit, but I'm just pushing on certain areas a little bit darker than I am in some areas. In some areas I'm not. Kind of mixes them all together. So now let's take that RV32 and do the same thing. And then let's take that R30 again, and let's just go ahead and do one swipe over, so that way there's no more white showing. This will kind of blend the dots together, but you'll still be able to see them because we're only going one swipe over. We're not sitting there coloring back and forth, blending out all those colors. We're keeping all that texture. So now with our darkest color, that RV34, we're going to do the same thing. All right. So when we want to make something a little bit darker, normally with regular colors I would use a gray, but with pinks and oranges and yellows and those types of colors, you have to use more of a brown color. So I'm going to take my E27 and do the same thing, but this time I'm really going to stay a lot smaller with my dots. And I'm going to be close together in some areas, and then some areas I'm going to kind of skip. So for example, I skipped that area right here. All right, now we're going to go back with our RV34 and go over those dots because we don't really want them to be brown, we want them to be a darker version of the pink. So I'm just going to go over them, just kind of dotting. It's really going to define those areas and make them look like a darker pink. so there you have it. You can kind of go back and forth with the colors depending on what you like. I'm going to add a little bit more of that RV13 just because it's a little bit brighter. So I'll add a couple more little spots in here. So let's go ahead and speed this up and finish coloring the rest of our cake.